welcome to Conflict Management Techniques training session today. I'd just like to take the time to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, as I know you're all quite busy in the organisation at the moment. My name is Stacey and I am the HR Manager here at JKL Industries. If you have any questions as we go through this training process, please just ask them as we go along, otherwise you'll forget by the time we get to the end. And I will email a copy of the notes from this presentation, so no need to take notes as we go through. Today what we'll cover is we'll look at identifying conflicts, we'll look at understanding our organisation's policy and procedures around conflict management, and also the legislative requirements that we need to keep in mind when resolving conflicts. We'll look at the conflict management styles and steps on what you should go through to effectively manage conflict in our workplace. So first up, we'll look at what is conflict management. So as a definition, it's the process of limiting the negative aspects of conflict. These aspects can include low morale, a high turnover of quality staff, and potentially litigation if we don't meet our legislative requirements. So let's start off with, are there any conflicts that you can think of in your workplace?
Yep, there's a bit of a hygiene issue with one of our employees who doesn't wear deodorant and possibly doesn't shower all that frequently, and it's making us a little bit awkward around the office.
Yeah, so that's affecting you, obviously.
Yeah, it's just making us uncomfortable and don't want to approach the situation.
Yeah, okay.
In case you get in trouble.
Yeah, no, that's a good example, thank you. There's a few different aspects that generally lead to common conflicts within a workplace. One is personality differences, so we all know that we've worked with someone or met someone along the way that we don't necessarily get along with. The other, there's a non-compliance with rules and policy, so it might be the fact that someone's late 10 minutes every day to work. That can cause conflict within the team or from the supervisor's point of view. Misunderstandings, which is generally communication not being effective, so one person getting one story and the other not, or I guess even the interpretation of that communication. And then competition, which is I guess a lot of times you'll find within the sales team, so that might be competing for customer base, and that can cause conflicts as well. So there are a few different sources. JKL Industries, we do have policies and procedures in place on how to deal with conflict. So the policy is aimed at it's got a policy statement, I guess, and the complaints that will be taken seriously, and every effort will be made to resolve them quickly, impartially, with empathy, and with appropriate confidentiality. So that's something really key to think of, that you're not breaching someone's confidentiality, that they have the right to make that complaint, so and we need to follow our correct steps. You have a copy of our grievance procedure there today, and it's also got our policy in as well, so you take that away with you. If you do have any questions or anything like that, feel free to give me a call. The policy does go into a bit more detail, the procedures as well, but as a general, it looks at, firstly we ask the employee to contact their direct supervisor, so that's the very first step. If their issue is with their direct supervisor, they obviously go to their supervisor's supervisor. So, and hopefully this is the point where the resolution is ideal. So it's informal at this point, it's a discussion, and especially in points where it's a communication issue, then obviously it can be resolved in this point quite often, so that's ideal. The next point is, if it's not resolved at this point, we ask the employee to put it in writing and send it to the line manager, which I believe, Glenn, you are a line manager in our business, so that's where you come into play. So once a line manager receives it, they need to let their HR officer know as soon as possible. So the HR officer, there's been a HR officer assigned to each work team, and it's really key to use them in cases like this. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge surrounding this. So We then ask you to schedule in time to meet with the employee within 48 hours of receiving that. And that's really key to the time frames so that the employee knows where they stand and also that we can get a resolution as soon as possible. So that's really important. And then obviously you investigate that problem and keep in mind the confidentiality when you do that. So then hopefully at this point it will be resolved, but if not, then it will then escalate to the manager. And so it's your responsibility as the line manager to escalate that as soon as you know that the conflict isn't being resolved. You need to escalate that one to the manager to look at. They are then allowed 48 hours as well to resolve, and that will involve them meeting with the employee again and hopefully resolving it at this point. If the managers are able to resolve, they'll then escalate it to the HR manager, which was me. So I will also investigate and seek to get a resolution with the employee. The difference at this point is I'll actually provide my response to the employee in writing, and I'll do so within 72 hours. So yeah, hopefully we can get a resolution. Now, if this fails as well, then the employee obviously has the steps in that they can go seek union or legal advice if they're not a union member. So this is where it goes external to the company, and this is what we want to avoid. So as much as possible early in the process, we want that issue resolved. It's a costly exercise if it goes external, and obviously it can result in litigation and make the company look bad. So we'll get it resolved early as soon as possible. So why do you think we have this process in place, Glenn?
So everyone knows what to do when a situation arises, and so it's uniform throughout all the branches.
Yeah, definitely, that's right. So whether an employee has an issue in Queensland or New South Wales, it gets resolved consistently. And it also gives a guide as to how long an employee can expect to get a resolution from their line manager or manager. So, what do you feel your roles and responsibilities are in this process?
Obviously to try and resolve any disputes should they come to me, but obviously according to this liaise with my HR officer, and if it can't be resolved then I escalate it to the manager. Yeah,
definitely, that's right. So it's just really important that you keep the time frames in mind, and obviously the policy statement as well in mind when you do resolve it. We'll go through the resolution process, so that maintaining confidentiality, impartiality, and everything like that. So who do you think you can go to if you've got any questions at all in this process?
Yourself.
Yeah, me or your HR officer. So anyone in the HR team is trained, and then we'll go from there. So that's great. So the next point that we're looking at today is the legislative requirements. So these are the other aspects that you need to keep in mind as you follow those procedures, just to make sure that we're not breaching, we're not going to end up with litigation or anything like that. So there's a few key considerations that I've summarised from the legislative requirements. We've got discrimination and harassment, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's a lot of legislation based around that. Workplace health and safety, and the modern awards. So some modern awards, for example, they outline exactly how we've employed someone, so we can't breach those awards. That's their conditions of work, that's what the employee conditions are that we need to follow. And workplace health and safety can obviously often make it a more urgent matter. So it's our employer's obligation to provide a safe workplace to our employees. If someone comes to you with a complaint that's based around workplace health and safety, you might need to shorten those time frames and get that resolved as soon as possible, so there's no risk of someone's health being adversely affected. So yeah. So I've got some scenarios for consideration. I'll just find it. Sorry about that. So So I've got 3 scenarios, so I'm going to put them to you so you can consider them, whether they're okay, whether you feel that they're okay, or whether they're breaching one of our legislative requirements. So scenario 1, an apprentice is left to work by themselves for hours at a time. Is that okay?
No, it's not. Okay.
No?
No.
Why not?
Workplace health and safety for one.
Yeah.
Possibly a condition of their award, even that they have to be monitored at all times.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a workplace health and safety issue. It's actually also a breach of the Vocational Education and Training Act. So good work. Next scenario, an administration officer is advised that when they work additional hours, in the busy times they take it, in the quieter times as time in lieu as opposed to being paid overtime. Is this okay?
I guess you have to check with their award. I'm going to say no.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be okay, sometimes not, but yeah, you're right, you definitely need to check their award, their conditions that they're employed under. Some awards, it's fine, but not all awards, so that's really important to check that. So, and one more, so a female mechanic is told she will work on the small trucks because the larger trucks are man's work. Is this okay?
No, discrimination.
Yeah, blatant discrimination there, isn't it? Excellent, good work. Alright, the next step of our training, we're going to look at different techniques, so different styles of managing conflict and considering whether they are reasonable, I guess, to work in our organisation in solving conflicts. So there's 5 different ones. First one is competing, so it is focused on winning, so it's both parties focused on winning, not really caring about what the other party is going to get out of the situation. This is probably not ideal in our workforce. It might be great if you're buying a car, then obviously as a buyer you want the best price, and as a seller you want the best price. But in a workforce we don't really want the party that comes out second best from being bitter and with low morale, so it's not probably ideal in most situations. The next one is accommodating, so it's allowing the other one to win effectively. So again, not always ideal. In the case of a customer service scenario though, as a business you might allow the customer to win in certain situations, be accommodating just to avoid issue and providing good customer service, so it can come up at times then. The third one is avoiding, so it's ignoring the conflict, which a lot of managers I'm sure would like to do a lot of the times, but it just builds then, so the employee just gets annoyed that they're being ignored, that it's not being addressed, and it will just build it to a higher, like a more complex conflict down the line. So then we have the last 2, which are probably more relevant to our organisation, more relevant to solving the problems. So you have collaborating, so working together, and compromising, so both parties have to give some so that we get a resolution. So they're probably the 2 that you're going to find will work best. It gets a solution that is ideal for both parties, so as the organisation and the employee, so it doesn't risk in the employee walking away feeling like they haven't won at all, but also the organisation still can proceed, and we just go back to business as usual, so which is great. Now we'll look at those 4 different steps that we recommend you take in resolving your problem. So they're I guess as a guide for having that conversation with your employee. The first step is initiating a discussion. So it's you need to make sure it's an open discussion, and you clearly state why you're having that discussion with the employee. So make sure that you're communicating openly, don't blame, and don't cut it short. So if it needs to keep going to get a resolution, make sure you keep going at that point. So the next step is giving good information. So state your point of view, so why you feel it affects you. Don't be emotive, just state the facts. Then you need to gather good information from the other party. So make sure that you're actively listening. Don't be defensive or conflictive. and ask questions, so probe, see if you can find out there's more to the situation that you don't know at the moment. So, and then finally, problem solve, obviously. So start off by summarising the problem and agreeing on the problem so that you're both trying to solve the same issue. And then you need to brainstorm and get some solutions and then choose a mutually accepted solution. So does that all make sense to you?
Yeah.
So what I was going to do next was going to ask you to come up, Glenn, and we'll run a role play on these steps and using them, putting them in practice and in the situation. So if you want to come up. Now, I'll have you as the line manager because obviously you are a line manager in your role with the organisation, and I'll be the employee in this case. Now, the scenario is I've been 10 minutes late to work every day for the last 2 weeks. Before that, was a great employee, arrived on time, but I've been 10 minutes late every day. So, over to you.
Okay, Stacey, do you mind if I have 10 minutes of your time just to have a quick chat over your attendance of late?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problems.
Stacey, I've noticed that the last couple of weeks you've been running late every morning, and the other girls have had to pull together and do your role in the morning in order to get the shop open on time.
Yeah, no, I have been running 10 minutes late lately. I'm really sorry. It's just been my husband usually drops the kids off to work, and he's been moved to another location with his work for a couple of weeks. So I've been trying to fit dropping the kids into work on the way each day. So I'm really sorry about that. He goes back to his normal location next week, so he can drop the kids off again. But I'm really sorry, I need to drop the kids off at work.
Okay, how about, since it is just a short-term thing, how about we inform the other girls that you'll be starting 15 minutes late every day, and you can work that back at the end of the day, and maybe take over the reins in closing up the office.
Yeah, no, that would be great if that's okay. That would be ideal.
Yep, no worries. And should anything like this come up again where your husband is to work away from his usual location, please come and see me.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, so we can organise some form of resolution there.
Excellent, I will
Works with
certainly do
everyone.
that. Would be great. Thank you so much. I'm
welcome.
sorry, I won't keep doing it.
You're welcome, Stacey.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. See, that was really well done. So you followed the steps really clearly. So by opening that discussion, you weren't emotive or anything like that, and you let me tell you why. So that's often the case. There's often a reason. So if someone's been good and suddenly they turn like that's a problem, there's usually a reason. So that was great. Thank you very much. So that brings us towards the end of our training session today. So hopefully what you'll walk away with after this session is you'll know what a conflict is. You'll know where we stand as JKL Industries on what we expect through our policy and procedures to be followed, and ideally what solutions that can come from them. What legislative requirements you need to take into consideration. The different styles that you can manage your conflict in, and the different steps that you should follow to be able to seek a resolution as easy and as painlessly as possible. So, do you have any questions today?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Stacey.
Excellent. Well, I'll email notes which will detail everything that we've gone through today. I'll send that one through as soon as we leave. I just asked you to sign the attendance sheet on the way out, just as a record of this training. And if you do have any questions at all when you walk away, feel free to give me a call at any point. I'm happy to talk you through it.
Sounds good.
Excellent. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.